No getting around it, folks. The West has fallen. The West has fallen. I don't know what else to tell you. This was expected. Maybe it's been a little bit worse than some expected. I think everyone expected this general outcome, you know? I don't really know. I would be surprised if anyone credible wasn't expecting the Conservatives to win. Basically, the EU, as all projections indicate, is going to be under the control of the so-called center-right. Now, whether or not you think they're actually center-right, you know, it's up to you. Not the far-right. The far-right made significant gains, but the AfD does not actually have their hands in the levers of European control. Not just yet, at least. But it's not good. Like many things in life, this is the fault of liberals. And I mean it. The EU as an institution is something that agitates and facilitates conspiracism in the right far more than it energizes the left. And by the left, I mean a very broad left. I'm talking big tent left, anything left of center, right? What are you left of center, right? Liberal, what do you care about the EU? What is the EU doing for you? What about it interests you? What power do you want to wield there? I think in truth, if you take a look at the liberal side of the EU, the power it has and the power it uses, what do you get? I don't know, farming subsidies? German administrators doing nothing at a breakneck pace? I don't know. Whereas to the far right, the EU is like the bastion of everything wrong with the West. And in fact, a facilitator of the West falling, you know, whether it's the subsidies, aforementioned subsidies, immigration, this is a massive one. You know, EU policy and guidelines concerning immigration, the treatment of migrants. Like, these are things that really energize the right. So frankly, I think a large part of it isn't really just the constituency in Europe getting more conservative. I think a lot of it is just only conservatives showed up, you know? Now, the worst defeat, as so conveniently mentioned here, Emmanuel Macron got his ass handed to him by a massive margin. I mean, just a sickening and overwhelming defeat. And as a consequence of it, and I'm not kidding here, he has called for a snap election in an effort to reassert his popularity to the French people. So we've basically set ourselves up for a situation where he loses to Le Pen twice in a row, which would not be good. No one was expecting this. How does France allow that? What the it's allowed. Is Le Pen as Hitlerite as she was before? No, at least not in her words. Le Pen and the Mussolini party in charge of Italy, Meloni, they've both made an effort to establish themselves as a little bit more legitimate, a little bit more moderate right than they were initially. Le Pen, who is, again, like fully a Hitlerite, by the way, do not be deceived by their, you know, pretenses at moderation, has been making an effort to appear less radical than she actually is for, God, like a decade now she's been trying? Probably more, you know? And a lot of that is just because they're cranking a big dial called Islamophobia plus racism and looking back towards the audience to see where it gets them. And for a while, Meloni and Le Pen cranked that dial maybe a little bit too far. The applause died down like a teensy bit from the audience. So they turned it back a little bit to the left, a little bit less xenophobic and racist. And now they're getting a nice, healthy, robust amount of applause, with a potential to get even more in the future. The AfD is not doing this, mind you. The AfD, which has not built a coalition with anyone in the EU Parliament because they're so far right that a lot of other groups don't want to associate with them. Recently, and we covered this on stream, Meloni was like publicly beefing with the AfD because the AfD, like every 5 days, some AfD official gets caught on camera saying Heil Hitler, and then, you know, he loses his seat, but then he gets replaced by someone who's going to say the exact same thing 5 days from then. So the AfD kind of being like the poster child for the really, really far right, they don't have their hands on the handles of power. Yet. Still a very, very decent possibility that Macron loses to Le Pen, which, by the way, if he does, honestly, deserved. Really. Macron has done a terrible job opposing everything that he has done in his time as president, has been a reaffirmation of the ineptitude of the liberal in dealing with times of crisis. It's not a presidential election. No, but the snap election is meant to consolidate and show his popularity within France. Like the point of it is to indicate, like, despite what happened in the EU election, Macron is still the guy in France. And it's a snap election he could very much lose. Could very much lose. What's the point in the snap election? It's just an attempt to show confidence, you know? I don't know if it's going to pay out. Let's see, when is it? I've decided to give you back the choice of our parliamentary future through the vote. I am therefore dissolving the National Assembly. The vote will take place in 2 rounds on June 30th and July 7th. So he's dissolving the assembly so people can re-vote in their preferred ministerial candidates. That's not surprising to me, Comrade Robin Hood. They vote for party, not candidates. Yes, I know how your parliamentary elections work. You vote for the party and whatever the represented constituent in the... I know. The fact that Euro leaders can choose election times is insane. As an American, it is odd to me, but it is a somewhat common feature in parliamentary governments, as I understand it. It's not like super crazy rare, though these are pretty exceptional circumstances. It's not good, folks. The West has fallen. Liberals in the EU have failed miserably in addressing a number of crises their constituent nations have faced. For example, dependence on Russian natural gas. Rather than working hard to build up a domestic energy resource in anticipation of Russia, a historically unstable country, doing something wacky, I mean, they literally invaded Ukraine in 2014. It's not like this was a huge surprise. The EU was utterly unprepared as a broad entity for gas and energy shortages that happened following the sanctions that targeted Russia. The refugee crisis with Syrian refugees, right? I'm not going to say that the racism that was directed against them was justified, because it wasn't. It was psycho. But the liberals in the EU broadly and in its various constituent countries, in my opinion, did a pretty terrible job. You had responses to it ranging from a kind of facile id pull to ignore it, pretend it's not happening, or let's capitulate to the right and enable right-wing rhetoric to, sort of try to meet the right halfway on the issue. It's not good. It's not good. On the good side in Poland, the progressives won, Vaush. Yeah, it seems like Russia invading Ukraine is pushing Poland to the left, which is nice. It's not all doom and gloom. The left did well in the Nordics. Yeah, but, if you take a look at the broader numbers, it's just, it's pretty bad. It's not good. It's not good, folks. German votes from 16 to 24-year-olds. Andere means other parties under 5%. This means like other, basically. So if you ignore the other groups, the highest voted groups by young people are the Conservatives, Union, and AfD, the Nazis. Meanwhile, the Green Party lost 23 points. What the fuck happened? Reunification was a failed promise. Western Germany was contemptuous and poorly invested in Eastern Germany, and as a consequence of that, the Eastern Germans who had never, at least not for a long time, properly known democracy up till that point, found themselves integrated with the so-called Western world, and the Western world didn't treat them very well, in spite of the fact that they were literally Germans. I mean, now currently the center of the EU, effectively. If you take a look at the AfD voting map, a lot of them are, in fact, from the Eastern Bloc. Also, German liberalism has not exactly been doing anyone any favors lately, When was the last time you heard about a German liberal victory? In the past 10, 15, 20 years? I mean, when was the last time you heard of, an inspiring example of a politician doing well? presenting a good image, making a good argument. Merkel? No! Merkel was terrible! That's exactly my point. Merkel was a horrible chancellor. She was terrible. She was just, I don't know, staunch? Stable in like a physical sense because she was like short and stocky. I have no idea. Report came out Merkel was kowtowing to the Russians. If you go back and look at Merkel's chancellorship and look at like the individual decisions that she made, almost every one she made was the wrong one. You know? She failed to build the right alliances, failed to instill trust, broke promises, made allies with the wrong people, alienated the right people. Like, my God. I know, but didn't she get in on a huge wave of liberalism? I thought we were talking about victories. That's a defeat, man. If a huge wave of liberalism procures a piece of shit, dog shit chancellor who, you know, inclines people against the victories of liberalism, that's a defeat. I'm talking about people that you can look back to, like, inspirationally, you know? Not here. Liberals allowing fascism to rise yet again. I love my historical circle. Yeah, it keeps happening, many such cases. Yeah, liberalism in Europe for the past few decades has been austerity politics and the moderate version of the far-right xenophobia, you know? They haven't proposed anything new or innovative on their own. There's been no, like, New Deal-esque energy, no bold plan, no initiative to meaningfully change things. It's just been status quo politics, and as the world gets scarier and less certain, status quo politics no longer fly, but the liberals in Europe have consistently cracked down on any kind of populism within their own party. Back when they were a European country, you might remember, Corbyn got ousted from the Labour Party in the UK by his own party, through the exacerbation of disingenuous anti-Semite accusations because they didn't like the idea of the party of Blair being run by a proper socialist. I said that, K-Comrade Robin Hood. Moderate conservatives won, but the far right still had massive gains. I mean, Christ alive, look at this. Young people, minus 23 points in Green, plus 12 in AFD. Why are so many actually socialist parties so cooked? I don't know. They're all too busy canceling each other over problematic faves. It's not good. Yes, Fluffernutter. Remember, most conservative parties in the EU are to the left of 99% of US politicians? That's not true. A favorite among Bernie-crat progressive liberals in America, but not actually true. Not even close. It's not been true for a long time. Check young people 15 to 19 polled similarly. Nice. Anyway, over here in the top, we have the Christian Democrats, who are the quote-unquote moderate conservatives. Look it up, it's quite true. The ultimate EU election guide. Do you think this is what look it up means? I'm very sorry. It's just, now there we go, guys. It's politics. I'm sorry. It's just not true, man. It's just not true. In a lot of ways, mostly when it comes to social progressivism, the American Democrats are actually far to the left of the left-leaning parties in European countries. I mean, compare Biden, there's at least 3 genders in America, over to Keir Starmer, who's reevaluating his previous zeal on the belief that trans women are women. I mean, that's just the example I'm most familiar of. That's the Labour Party. Yeah, but they have healthcare. Yeah, like I said, as opposed to economic stuff, when it comes to social progressivism, which is important, I think, you know, that's material. Then we have the Social Democrats, the S&D, Renew Europe. These are moderate conservatives, right? Even though, yeah, right? Renew Europe. Renew is liberal. Centrist? They're libs? Neoliberals? Okay, so conservatives, gotcha. Then we have the European Conservatives and Reformist Group, nice. Identity and Democracy Group, the Green Party, the Left, da-da-da-da-da. Right, so. Renew is Macron's project that has a lot of neolibs. Okay, so conservative, gotcha. Worthless. Identity and Democracy is the far-right group. I mean, just judging from the name, right? Identity, Renew Europe, liberal, pro-European political group of the European Parliament, founded 9th Parliament, blah, 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 blah. That's cool, I hate them. Hate them. Identity and democracy. Nationalist, right-wing populist, and Eurosceptic National Party from 10 European states. And it's true, the AFD is not a part of it because of, yes, we covered this. Ahead of the 2024 European Parliamental election, the AFD lead candidate Maximilian Krah made controversial statements on the Waffen SS in an interview which was met with anger within the group because you're not supposed to be that obvious about it. In response, National Rally spokesperson said they'd part ways with the AFD after the election, not include the AFD in the group due to Krah's remarks and allegations of Chinese espionage influence on the party. Yeah. So I guess that's good that the Nazis were so obvious about being Nazis that they got ejected from this. After an internal meeting and vote, the Identity and Democracy Board subsequently voted in favor of ejecting the AFD. Nice. Keep in mind, the only reason they got ejected is because they were embarrassingly obvious about it. Well, no, it's because when you're in a coalition of nationalists saying the SS was not all bad pisses off the nationalists in other countries. Yeah, but again, it's not like everyone already knows the AFD is Nazis. Like that's not like a crazy leftist online only take. That's a take that's been extensively discussed in broader German society. It's like that's not like a totally online position or whatever. I fully believe that everyone prior to this was completely on board with the AFD being a part of IND, you know? The only issue is you can't be that stupidly obvious about it, man. It's bad optics. And yes, it does facilitate infighting, but again, you know, they would have been fine with it otherwise. Mainly it's the far-right French party that got mostly pissed off by the AFD gamer moment, which is funny because you'd think the, you know, far-right French people these days would be all like Vicky types, you know? They'd be like, hell yeah, man. Collaborationism. Is it Vichy? I'm sorry, I don't respect the French. Vichy. Isn't that Latin? I don't know. All right. The French far right are split on that. One half are pro-Nazi, the other half are like LARPing Bonapartist fash. I think that's what the far right should look like in Europe, by the way. I think that the far right in Europe should be like like the Nazi shit's boring, man. We're like it needs to be all like you know, Bonaparte, Wilhelm, you know, go back even further. It, go to the Holy Roman Empire. I don't care. Just like it's just boring over and over with the Nazi shit. Oh, we protect our children. It was secure for the white race. God, loser shit. Charlemagne lives. Yeah, give me something interesting, man. Come on. The AfD is half Nazi, half Reichsbürger. Yeah, that's true. In Spain, we are still able to vote to Falang. They even go to the European elections. Falang is Franco's party. Yeah, this Nazi won. This guy, the Polish MP who put out the Hanukkah candles with a fire extinguisher and called Judaism a satanic cult. This guy won. Is that true? I'm looking at his Wikipedia page. I don't see it saying he won. Where did he win? He's got like half of his page is the anti-Semitic incidents section. He won the seat that belongs to the far-right party anyway. He won in the Hitler capital of Poland. Nice. Isn't it crazy how like so many Polish people are Catholic, but they have Protestant levels of anti-Semitics? I'm really sorry to say, the Catholics are the anti-Semitic one, man. The founding fathers weren't that anti-Semitic. Like the Protestants, like I'm not saying Protestants haven't been anti-Semitic. They have. I'm just saying historically, the Christian group most known for anti-Semitism by a order of like a magnitude of 100 over every other group would be the Catholics. The Germans also seem to have changed their minds on nuclear power, becoming more pro. Yeah. Too little, too late. I'll never forgive them. I'll never forgive them. The scary and dangerous part about the main far-right candidate in France is that he's very charismatic and rhetorically effective. Well, he's still French. Jordan Bardella, or Bardella? I don't know. The new face of the France is right. The France is right. Okay, well, you know. What matters is that they have fun. Why can't they just jail the Nazis for being Nazis? Well, in Germany they could, if they weren't pussies, but, you know. This was George Washington's letter welcoming a Jew to Rhode Island. Well, that's nice of him. Oh, just Jews in general? The broader Jewish congregation. To the Hebrew congregation in Newport, Rhode Island. Well, that's nice. That's not an appropriate use of that emote. Rhode Island is in Family Guy. Is that a real place? You guys, sometimes you guys do me a real disservice. Have you read the EU Charter of Human Rights? I double dare you to say it's not more progressive than the USA in a wet dream. Damn, is it being, like, enacted? Or is it a charter that just exists? Why are you so committed to the idea that the EU is more progressive than America broadly. It's just like, it's like needless sports ball fighting. Do you think my statement is born of some kind of American chauvinism? You trying to drag me down into the toilet that your brain festers in, but in reality, I'm just objectively observing these facts from a distance. You think that I'm engaging in the same kind of partisan hackery as you. I'm not. I don't care. Well, in this way, Euroids are inferior. It's, I don't know. It's just, there are so many, it's just very clear that after getting glazed by Western liberals, or I should say American liberals, after 9/11 and the Iraq War, you got a decade of American liberals going, if only we were as good as Canada, if only we were as good as England, if only we were as good as any other European country. And in reality, this was like never anything more than the whining of small-brained, unimaginative liberals. And now, like, we're all grown up a little bit. We see that you guys have literally descended into a 10-year resurgence of Nazism because 5 brown people from Syria walked up north through Turkey. And yeah, I'm just, we're not buying it, okay? It's a show we aren't as far right as you actually think we are. Do you think showing me the EU charter, I'm gonna, like, all of the things that I know about your shithole-ass countries, so you're gonna show me a charter and go like, hey, on this piece of paper, they say they respect life. That's pretty good, huh? Come on. What are you, 5? You know, I can bring up the Constitution, right, liberty, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Oh, wow. Phenomenal. I guess everyone's getting that. All men are created equal? Bro, you checked out all men are created equal yet? As you already said, Masagui, like 5 seconds ago. And? The American Constitution does stuff as well. I don't know what you're on about. It's like your constitutional protect... Okay, you're just... here. You can argue with me again 7 days. I don't get you people, man. Anytime you try to do a segment about how the West is falling, except it has anything to do with... If you shit talk America, people are like, yeah, dog, America, sink into the sea. You know, no one gives a shit. If you criticize Europe or Canada, people come in and they're like, hey, I don't really appreciate you saying that stuff. You know, we're better than you, right? Like I'm not saying we're perfect. We have made mistakes, but like, you know, we're better than you, right? Like, what about these bad things it's crazy, man. Like, it genuinely is your entire person. Are you like some kind of chauvinist, except instead of being proud of your own country, you just hate us more than you hate yourself? What is that? What are you doing? It's pathetic. I have never seen a person criticize America, like, or point out some problem with America and think like, hey, like, can you imagine if some guy from like Senegal or South Africa or you know, Tibet or Indonesia was like, hey, America's been having some serious issues with the rise of the far right. And my answer was like, hey, at least we're not as shit as Senegal. What the fuck would my point be? You're treating it all like a sports game. Like, if you're doing it as a bit, like if it's a joke or something, okay. If you want to make it funny, fine. If it's funny, it's funny. Okay. But sincerely arguing from that perspective, I hate the nation state. Yeah. Don't we all, brother? Oh, man. I need to readjust some stuff on my desk again. It hurts my neck to look down the way that I'm looking down. I gotta look up more. Benny Gantz is resigning, saying Netanyahu is prolonging the war. Oh, really? So Netanyahu's little gambit failed then? His little impromptu hostage rescue did not, in fact, keep Benny Gantz from leaving the war cabinet. So the coalition's gonna fracture now. Shut up. Interesting. Are we done with Europe? Brother, I was done with Europe a long time ago. I'm at the end of my rope with them. Toad Puddle, I have no idea what the f you just said. Close this, close that. US adults are more religious than Western Europeans. Oh yeah, it's 100% true. Yeah, I saw this. Labor suspended a parliamentary candidate and Muslim woman because she liked an old Jon Stewart sketch in which he was critical of Israel. I saw that. It's a good bit. Could you find a thinner pretense? Yeah. How can you even do that? They can do whatever they want with suspending people from their party. For real though, what is to be done with Britain? If I never hear a question like that again, what the f you asking me? Do you think I'm God? Dial it back down. I just like, cause reflexively I see that and I think like, it'd be like somebody asking me some technical question on some hobby I have an interest in. Well, what clothing thing, what tabletop thing, like, I can't do that, man. Well, here's 5 minutes. I can't fix that shit, yo. I don't have the ability to do that. What is to be done? What, like I'm their handler? I'm assuming it was rhetorical. Okay, rhetoric elsewhere. I do the rhetoric. Speaking of Nest League 20, are you dumb? Did you hear what I just said? Did it not make you think perhaps you should hit the backspace button and get rid of the message that you were cooking? Oh, I'm sorry, you weren't cooking this. This is a copy paste from an earlier time. You sent this exact same message, and I saw it then, and I ignored it then, but you send it again because you think I just missed it. I didn't miss it. Sorry. No, you're not. You're sorry that you've been called out. You aren't sorry for robbing me of the neurons that I used to perceive that question a second time. Blaming the propagation of far-right rhetoric on the youth of Europe on TikTok is desperate liberal cope. Liberals in Europe have not had anything to offer their constituents for a long time. They're facile and weak. They're incapable of effectively presenting a better vision of the future. And it is the pejorative, not the pejorative, the prerogative of liberals when crisis mounts to ignore it or play it down or say things are fine, actually. Of course they can't present a message worth shit. The far right in America has been dominating the culture war for like 8 years. Even when they're in the minority, they still decide what we're all arguing about. How come? Use your imagination. I think the UK Tories are polling 8% of all voters under 50. Yeah, well, they're not European anymore. When do we start calling liberals libtards? You don't, because it makes you sound like a child. You know, taking up the linguistic similarities with the 40 IQ conservatives who developed these terms doesn't reflect well on you. Saying liberal with contempt in your tone of voice will always be a much more effective insult than saying libtard, something that justly gives other people all the justification they need to completely write off your opinion. What about shitlibs? Right up there with shitlord as the late millennial or early millennial Gen X bastardization of insulting language. Oh, that shitlord, that crump festival Bernie and my tenant from hell. No. Take on head ass? I'm not shoe on head. Speaking of which, how can we on the left counteract that? Holy shit, man. You guys can't... You know, the whole point of being given a quiz in a math class isn't just to test if you can answer those 8 questions. It's to test if you can apply the logic. Remember what I said just a second ago? What can the left do to X? What can the left do to Y? I don't know. I'm not the left. I'm a guy on the left. Man, you should ask the right questions. You know, you bear a responsibility as a member of this community to approach this in a sensible way. Don't just ask what can the left do, you know? Think yourself. What rhetoric could I employ? What is the issue? The whole point of this, right? It's to better understand the material conditions and how they affect the analysis that you have to apply to make the world a better place. You take a look at that. You can't just get an answer to every question. You learn the quadratic formula so you can apply it to different situations. How can the left counteract that? I don't know. What's the left in the European Union? There's like 50 lefts, and they all suck. What can you do? Why does everyone keep asking questions as if the answer will change their decisions in any way? Yeah, why are you trying to get teachers' attention? What are you going to do with that information? Go be the left? I don't get it. I don't get it. You ask these big sweeping questions. It feels like the kid who sits at the front of the class raises their hand, you know, this is just like X and Y, and this reminds me of this thing you said, and this connects to that. That's great, kid. What's your opinion of almonds? What's your opinion of people trying to be funny, but they can't come up with a better way of sort of needling me over my being tired of the tedious questions? Was that a joke? A bad joke is indistinguishable from a sincerely stupid question. Ask questions like, what do you think about this? How do you feel about this? So on and so forth. You know, man, how would you answer? You get those questions all the time, over and over again. You know, what should the left do? Nobody knows the answer to this. How are you doing today, Vaush? I feel pretty good, actually. Good enough sleep? No, never. Of course not. Don't be silly. What's Vaush doing? It's chat asking valid questions and Vaush mad as... It's only after you've been... I mean, you'll never be in my shoes because I'm the streamer and you're in his YouTube chat, not even on the chat that appears on screen. You'll never understand how it feels every day to get 50 questions that are basically, hello, God, what should we do about X? You're not doing anything with the info, man. And you're also not applying any knowledge you have yourself. You know? You're not adding to the discussion. You're prompting me to go, what am I supposed to do? Shrug and go like, oh, what should the left do? Do better? It's meaningless. You know, we need a higher quality of discourse. Something that I am, by the way, providing. I'm doing both ends of the two-man bit right here. The straight man, the comedy guy. I'm providing both ends of it. You guys ask me duds. You throw in coal at me. Like, hey man, shouldn't things be better? They should. God willing, one day they will be. I don't know, that sounds like hanging out with a child, TBH. It does sometimes. Why is this? You know, Are you even curious? To be fair, chat is full of children. Sometimes it just, you know, when I see, like with the man v bear thing, sometimes it makes me wonder if chat's picking up on the patterns of the arguments that I make, or if they're just adopting the positions I have in any given thing. You know? Most of us here are in your early 20s, bruh. That's old enough. That's old enough to have a general understanding of decorum. It's because some of these people genuinely look up to you and some of them need tough love. None of you get my love, man. You get my love broadly as a community. I don't know you guys. You see my face. You know what I see on my monitor? My face. Because that's how OBS works. Yeah, well, obviously the mouth. I'm not saying you're endorsing that, Kiwi TP. It's just, man. Wait, is this not Zoom? Yeah, it's just a giant group call. Massive group call. AFD putting up billboards with Wojaks and Pepes on them. Yeah, I did see this. This is what's gaining, by the way. Over in Germany. This is what the liberals are losing to. The liberals are inept and powerless against the power of meme magic. And by meme magic, we mean something that would be dated like 5 years ago. Like this isn't even like a Twitter banger post, you know? This is so bad that those like 3 or 4 neo-Nazis who consistently repost memes 8 times a second because they're trying to get their blue check rent money, like this isn't even gas enough for them. It's coal. And they put it up on a billboard. Is that Fetterman? Yes, that's German Fetterman. And yes, Elon Musk is pro-AFD. Europe is canonically 5 years behind America culturally. That's because America is the center of West culture. Beyond the West, of course. It's not like they aren't watching our movies in, like, India as well. But we are the center of the world. And for that reason, like, everything over there just feels like a dated, kind of off-brand version of our shit. Sad. How far is Musk on the Nazi scale? Pretty far. Pretty far. Das Fettermensch. Exactly. That's not good, folks. Seriously, what does liberalism even have to offer? Like, okay, we all know what this is really about. It's about immigration and Muslims and brown people. It's all that. That's what all this is about, right? What are the liberals in the EU offering to counter the conservative / far-right approach of we should secure our borders, not let them in? Like, what is the position the liberals have on that? What are they, like, planting their feet in the ground on? Exactly. They have nothing. They're anti-immigration often, too. Yeah, example 5,854,000,000,000, da-da-da-da-da, continue the number as you prefer, of liberals capitulating to conservatives in their politics in an effort to win the moderate vote, and all you end up doing is empowering the conservative side of the aisle. I wish I could have voted, but was turned away today. Why were you turned away? Anti-immigration Europeans are less cringe than Americans by a lot. They are much smaller countries, not melting pots. Are you insane? Are you high? Did you have your wisdom teeth removed like 8 minutes ago and you've just woken up? You're clinging on to lucidity like with your fingertips? What are you talking about? Your entire continent is descending into Nazism because of immigration. You are objectively more xenophobic than us.